Hey everyone, it's Jason. Welcome back to Black Rose Wars Rebirth Apocalypse expansion. If you didn't check out part 1 for whatever reason, we went over the 4 horsemen as mages as well as the 4 decks. And then we overall the new evocation cards, the equipment evocation cards, the new pestis, all that cool stuff. In this video, we're going to look at the Apocalypse mode, which is a special little different mode you can play, and then it kind of blends into being able to play into tournament mode if you would like to go play this at tournaments, which is kind of a neat idea. I just saved this for a special thing because it's not just a direct add-on. It uses all the game elements, but it has its own little twists to it. So yeah, let's just take a really quick look at our 4 horsemen. So we have I'm always going to mess up their names. Bellum, who is war. Then we have Mors, who is death. We have Pestilina, who is pestilence. And then we have Fames, who is famine. So we have the 4 of them, which are all playable as well as summonable as forgotten spells. So what we are going to get with each one of them is we are going to get a brand new character card. But let's look at what Apocalypse mode is quick before we get too much into that. So, Apocalypse mode can be used as an introduction to tournament mode. See next page. It is recommended to play at least one game of this mode before tackling a tournament mode. Apocalypse mode allows a player to be played by 2 to 4 players. Each player must choose a horseman of the apocalypse as their mage, when getting access exclusively to the spell matching them. So that's the big difference here. Is instead of having access to 4 different or the 6 different libraries, and you'll be able to pick which ones and make your deck as you kind of deck build, each player only gets access to one thing, which is very interesting because it means if I'm playing as war, I'm not going to have lots of different options of stuff to do, but since I'm the only one that's going to get to use equipment, only one that's going to get to use those abilities, it's going to make all of my cards a little bit stronger. The same idea if you're playing like Pestilence School, and you're the only one that has access to the Pestis rats. And the Infecto tokens. And you're the only one doing it. You're going to have more and more cards that are going to do that more often, as opposed to if you diversify between 2 or 3 different spells. So place the event deck for each moon phase with the matching competitive deck. So we'll have this extra competitive deck that has a little red backer on it to help us remind that. Since it's only Bellum, Fames, Mors, and Pestilence can be selected as mage during setup, it's described in the core gamebook. When using one of the mages, use the matching Apocalypse Mage card. So on the back of each of their cards, they will have a new Apocalypse version, which does change their stats and stuff up. Do not form the library during setup. Each one gets their own specific deck. During setup is described in the core game. Remove the forgotten spells that correlate with them. So game rules. So in Apocalypse mode, use all the standard rules for the core game, save for the following feats. In Apocalypse mode, each mage has feats listed on their mage card. A feat changes certain rules of the game for that mage who has it. A list of feats and their details explained on page 9. Library. There's no shared library. So each player has their own personal library consists solely of the decks contained in their mage setup by 9. Any effect would direct the mage to draw a card from the library instead causes them to draw a card from their personal library. Effects that allow forgotten spells to be drawn, on the other hand, follow standard rules. Using the options. Tournament mode options shown on page 11 tell us to be freely used in Apocalypse mode. Cool. So before we head into tournament mode, let's take a look at our special versions of our characters. So we have Bellum here. So they definitely have some different stats changed, and this is what's really cool. I like this as a kind of a neat idea to get different things. So he has the charge ability, as well as his 9 health, 6 draw cards, 3 attack, 2 movement, and 1 quest. So as a reminder, all of the other characters normally have either 10 or 11 health, or 7 or 8 draw cards, and then 2 for every other stat. So he loses a little bit of health, but he gets a lot more damage. Loses a quest. is going to be very interesting. So then he also has the charge action. So we'll look at all these feats a little bit more. All of them, but he has charge. Physical action. Move 1. You can perform this effect any number of times equal to your speed value. Each separate movement separated by a period counts as a different effect. You can use all of them or part of them. You cannot use other effects. And then perform an attack on 0. So you can move up to. So he has 2 movements. So he can move twice, and then he gets an attack out of it. So that's pretty cool. We have Moors, who has 12 health. She gets more health, but she only has 1 attack, 1 movement, and 2 quests. So yeah, she gets more health, but she doesn't do as much damage. But she has teleportation. So teleportation action says, place yourself in any space, activate in that space. So basically, it's just to move around. She doesn't have lots of regular movement, but she can at least use actions to go anywhere she wants. For Pestilina, she has 10 health, 6 hand, 2 attack, 2 movement, and 2 quests. She has Horde, which is a special star one, and Domination. So Domination for an action says, physical action. Choose one of your evocations. It activates. If it has +1 attack for the duration of this activation, at the end of the activation, the rolls and puts 1 damage on it. So basically, she can control her thing. And a she just summon lots of the little rats. She can only have 1 health. She can basically let them infect twice, and then they're going to go away. And then she has Horde, which says at the beginning of your cleanup step, heal all damage suffered by your evocations. Which, again, doesn't do anything with the Pestis, because they only have 1 hit point each. But she starts controlling a bunch of other stuff. Somehow. It helps her. Basically, she can get forgotten spells and get some of those bigger guys in. Again, this doesn't personally help her with only that one thing. She's only summoning Pestis, which have 1 health, but it does work if she gets the other stuff. And then we have Fame, just Changeling. And then he has 11 health, 5 cards, 1 attack, 3 movement, and 3 quests. And Changeling was the last of the some of the last video of activated was. So it says physical action, move 1 from an any time per your speed value. Place 1 instability in that room, place 1 in another room than you are in. So he gets to move around and do that. So one guy gets Vellum gets to charge around and hit people. Morris gets to move around and activate rooms. Fames gets to add instability, and Pestilence gets to basically make her summons more powerful. So those are the 4 different characters we have there. So that's really fun. But if that's not enough, let's hop in and look at the tournament mode, which adds some really cool stuff. For mode, each player can create a mage of their dreams on their personal library through point system that balances their potential. So creating a mage. To create a mage and a personal library, player has 10 creation points available. The player can spend all or some of these points to improve their mage's characteristics. Why am I not saying that word right? Characteristics, values, and acquire feats that will provide them with new powers and options. So, what we are doing is we are creating our own mages. So you start with a blank sheet. You have 9, 10, 11, or 12 health. We get basically, you end up getting to choose how much health, how many cards, your damage, your speed, and how many quest cards you draw. Plus, you're going to be able to give yourself extra abilities. So much like the charge or teleportation abilities. First step, creating tournament mode is to create your own mage. You use customizable mage card right in the box. If you run out of them, you can go ahead and find more. At the beginning of the formation, a mage has the following values per characteristics. So, for each starting character, increase the value you want, you need to spend points corresponding creation. So you start with 9, 5, 1, 1, and 1. So then now, depending on how many points you want to spend, are what you can up them to. So if you want to up your health to 10, 11, or 12, it's going to cost you 1, 2, or 3 points. If you want to add your hand size to 5, 6, 7, 6, 7, 8, or 9, it's going to cost you 1 to 5. Your attack can either be 2 or 3, costing either 2 or 5 points. Movement can go up to 2 or 3 using 2 or 3 points, and quest can go up to 4 using 1, 2, or 3 points. So here's the thing though, right? If you also want to be able to have 10 cards and 3 attack, that's all 10 of your points. But you still have low health. But maybe you want to have that 5 attack and good health, so you're going to go 8 points there. Now, what do you spend your other 2 points on? Which then you could get extra hand size upped, or you could have movement, or you could have an extra quest. So very interesting there. After choosing how a creation point is spent, change the character. To change them out, the new value should be noted in the customizable mage card. To represent your mage in the lodge, you can choose any mage model from Black Rose Wars. Alright, but now you don't want to just up all your stats, because we have feats. Feats affect rules of the game for each mage who has them, and are acquirable during its creation. Each feat alters or adds for the mage who gains a special rule as stated in its description, or gives them new physical actions by exhausting their physical action token. Feats can be acquired by a mage by spending creation points shown in the chart below. Each feat can only be acquired once. Once the feat of the mage have been chosen, they are to be noted on the customizable card. 3 types can be denoted: physical actions, library, or trait. Physical actions. Type of feat grants new physical actions. For a full explanation of how they work, see 24 of the core book of how physical action works. Library feats. Type of feats that change the creation parameters of your personal library. Or trait feats. These change the game rules and give a mage access to a special rule. So, these also use points. So, that's why you gotta watch, you gotta balance between upping your stuff and getting these abilities. So, we saw Channel already, we saw Charge, we saw Teleportation, we did not see Study. Study says draw 1 card from your personal library, activate a room. We saw Dominion, and we saw Horde. So, those are a bunch of our special abilities. Now, note, Channeling and Charge each cost 3. And then Teleportation costs 6, and Domination and Horde costs 2 and 3, and Study costs 2. So if you're teleporting for 6, that means your other stats are all going to be lower because you only have 4 extra stats. So I want to look at Moore's here really quick. So her health went up to 12, so that would be 3 points there. I just want to see if these guys follow the correct rules. So 3, so no, they don't. Because it'd be 3 plus 4, 5, and then 6 points there. So she would have spent 12 points to get teleportation. So let's see if that follows the same rule. So for Charge, he would have spent 3 points. Get up to 9 health, stays the same. Get to 6, so it's 3, that's 4 points. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But yeah, then if he would have upped his movement, 10, 11. So he spent 11 points. Moore spent 12. I'm just curious how all these work out. Fames has Channeling, which is, I believe, 3 as well. So 3, 4, 5. That stayed the same. 6, 7, 8. 9, 10. So he only spent his 10 points. The other guys overspent. Then Pestilina had 10 health, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then she would have had Horde and Domination. So 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So these guys spent somewhere between 10 and 12 points each. Just, kind of keep that in mind. They only give you 10 points, but the created characters they had to spend more. But they're special characters, right? So then we have some other Rose cards to help you change your background. They're worth 1 point each. Except for Tri-Magic. So, it says Creator, you can include in your personal library up to 3 copies of a single mage's personal spell instead of none. Belligerent, you can include up to 21 combat spells instead of 15. Pacifist, you can include up to 21 contingency spells instead of 15. Incautious, you may include 0 or more protection spells instead of at least 3. Pragmatic includes 0 or more trap spells instead of only 3. Tri-Magic, you can include spell cards for up to 3 different schools in your personal library instead of 2. And Builder, you can include up to 21 spell cards with the instability symbol instead of 18. So, because the way this works different when you're playing the Apocalypse mode, you had to play just their specific decks. When you are making these, you're going to build your personal library. Once the players create your mage, they must create their personal library. They choose a spell to include in their personal library must meet the following build rules and can be modified with library feats. The personal library must consist of exactly 36 spells. Spell cards include the personal library can have a maximum of 2 different schools, so you can add the other one to add a third type if you want. No personal spells are allowed to be included unless you add that one. Maximum of 3 copies of each spell, which is fine because you don't have any more of that unless you own multiple sets. Then you can have 15 contingencies or 15 combat spells, so less than half your deck. And then you have to have at least 3 protection and 3 trap cards. And the maximum 18 spells, so half your deck can only have instability. Then remember though, you have 3 copies of each. If you have 3 copies of each card, just saying 15 combat spells would be 5 cards only. If you have all 3 of each. But the thing is, since you can mix and match between decks, you could, pick, 1 of this one, 2 of this one, 3 of that one. Alright, then tournament mode game. The tournament mode uses the rules of the card game, save for the following: change of the moon. Mages do not gain personal spells upon the change of the moon, and drawing spell cards. If any effect would direct the mage to draw from the library, instead draw from their own personal library. Game setup follows like this. During step 7, replace the event deck with the competitive. Unlike describing the card game, randomly choose a player who gets the crown. And then during the setup, players do not choose a mage, but instead use the model they chose for their mage at the customizable mage fill out. Instead of the library, use your own personal libraries. Step 10. Pursue the fall. Each mage shuffles your personal library before drawing 7 cards from it and consulting them. These cards will form their grimoire. So, like normally on the card, it would say, pick these 1, 2, 3, these 6 cards as your grimoire, right? It's how you start off, or you pick these 6. That's how you start with this. Instead, now you draw 7 cards from your deck. You can mulligan. You may take 1 single mulligan by picking any number of cards drawn and set them aside for the mulligan. They draw cards from their library until they have 7 hands. Shuffle the mulligan in the library. So if you like 4 of them, you don't like the other 5 immediately, you can shuffle them back into your deck, draw the other 5 back up. And then each mage shuffles the 7 cards and uses it to form their grimoire. Place it to the left of their mage sheet in the mage grimoire slot. Then take the first card and place it revealed in their memory slot. So you'll have 6 cards in your grimoire, you'll have 1 starting in your memory slot. Tournament format. This chapter introduces a number of options that modify the core of the rules. Choose 1 or more of the options to apply to your tournament mode. Define your tournament format, which you can describe. This goes to all participants. New options will be released over time. So I did try and look this up. I could not find anything with anything new, but this game might just be too new enough to have anything new. So you have plentiful quests. During step 5 of the Black Rose phase, each mage who is to draw 1 quest draws 2 instead. Choose 1, add your actor quest, place it at the bottom deck to give you more options. Crown of Summoner. The following options are indicated on Rule 30. So this is extra mode you can add in here. All evocations added under the Black Rose control activate before the first evocation by the first player. In the case of the evocation models which are not paired to the specific evocation cards, such as Pestis, indicate theirs by placing one of your unused tokens. Remove this token during step 1, just to keep track of them. Quick Study. Replace the rules of the study phase with the following. Draw 2 spell cards from your grimoire, 2 spells from your own personal library. If you have more spell cards in your hand than your hand value, they discard cards of their memory until they have the equal number. When all mages have performed these points, the study phase ends. That's basically going to be the same thing there. We have Magic Tutor. The Forgotten deck is not used in games where this option is applied. Remove it from the game. During the activation phase, place the Black Rose room. Token is not turned to the exhausted side. It does not have it. When the mages activates in the Black Rose room. So basically what you're doing is you're replacing the Black Rose room's activation or its main token with this one here instead. It's double-sided. It's just going to have the same thing on both sides because it does not activate, but it's replacing what's actually on the room. So it says, Mage may discard 3 cards. If you do, search for 1 card in your personal library, add to your hand, and shuffle your personal library. So it's just replacing the stats on the room with this one instead. Then if you rebirth it, now you use this activation token, which will have the activated side on there, which just says, Mage discards 2 cards. You do search for 1 card from your personal library. After your hand, shuffle it. So basically, this is a mode you can add, and you could potentially add this into any game if you like. It's just to get rid of the forgotten cards. Maybe you don't want to use them because they're too powerful, or you want to make the game a little bit more balanced. That's definitely something you can do. Then the last one we can do is Instinctive Spell. During the preparation phase, mages do not place any spells in the quick spell slot. During their activation, when a mage uses the spell casting action, they may place a spell card from their hand into the quick slot ready cover position. If they do, they must use the spell casting reveal or activate the spell, case of trap or protection in the quick slot. So this just lets you not have to place a quick spell ahead of time. You can cast anything from your hand. All of these can basically be used in any mode if you want. They're for tournament format, but you could go ahead and create your own spell libraries instead of that ahead of time. You could use extra quests, the tutors, all that stuff is really neat. Ooh, interesting. So his sword says, Civis Pacium Para Bellum. Which I don't know what all that means, except Bellum is war, so that's his sword. That's kind of cool. Then there's also limited and banned spell cards, which eventually be added up in new tournament rules, but again, I didn't see any as of yet. So we have one last thing left to look at in here for the game, is we have our new event cards, which will again always be broken up by the three different phases. So let's see what these new events do. We have Funerary Prior. Not seen that word before. When a mage is placed in a cell, the Black Rose gains 1 point. Recurrent Thought. When a mage places at least 2 instability with a single effect, that mage may place 1 in a room away from themselves. Bloodsucker. When a mage inflicts at least 2 damage to the single effect, that mage may heal 1 damage. Intermittence. Each mage places himself in their cell. The rose inflicts 1 damage to each mage. Reminiscence. Each mage in play order may look at the first 2 quests of the current moon. If they do, they may add 1 to their active quest and discard the other. And then the end of the first one is Oral Tradition. At the start of the study phase, each mage draws 1 card from their personal library. If we go into the second phase, we have Funeral. When a mage is placed in a cell, the rose gains 2. Fixation. When a mage places at least 2 with a single effect, they may convert 1 from themselves, so just upgraded effects on these. Parasite. When a mage puts at least 2 damage to a single effect, they may convert 1 on their target. Tormented Sleep. Each mage places themselves in a cell and rose inflicts 2 damage to each mage. Prediction. Each mage player may look at the first 2 quests of the current moon. If they do, they may add 1 to their active quest, discard the other. And then the last one is Accurate Studies. At the start of each study phase, each mage draws 1 card from their library, add 1 random, and 1 random from their memory. That's cool. And then the last one is we're going to get Ashes to Ashes. When a mage is placed in a cell, that mage may gain 1 rose. If they do, the Black Rose gains 2. Obsession. When a mage places 2 instability with a single effect, they may convert 2 and will room 1 away from themselves. Vampirism. When a mage inflicts at least 2 damage and a single effect, they may heal 2 from themselves. Reality Change. Each mage places themselves in a cell. The Black Rose converts 2 damage on each mage. The mage inflicts 2 damage to each, and then the rose inflicts 2 damage to each mage. Clairvoyance. Each mage in player draws 2 quests from the first or second moon. And then the last one is Absolute Knowledge. Each mage draws 2 cards from their personal library. So pretty interesting. We just swap all those around for different stuff. And then the only other thing they also gave us 50 tournament sleeves. So if you're playing with this, you can mix all your spell cards in for your personal library. Although they're all going to have the same backside nail, but it just gives you some extra cool sleeves for it, which is really neat. If you're going to go play with somebody else, you have sleeves for your cards. And you only need 36 for a deck, so you'll end up having some extra, so you can always sleeve your own forgotten spells if you wanted to, or something like that. I might even just use it for just forgotten spells. That'd be kind of a neat thing, like have other sleeves for all the other spell cards, and then maybe use this for just forgotten spells. I would say personal spells but with 3 copies of each after every mage, there might not be 50. If there is, maybe I'll do it for personal spells. Well, I say the only problem would be is if they get mixed into your deck, then they would stand out when they're shuffled in. So you might not want to do that. I was thinking the forgotten spells like were cast and then gone. Alright, that's what we have for Apocalypse. So if you're looking for a bigger expansion, we have, again, 4 brand new mages, 4 brand new spell libraries, plus all the mages can be used as, can be used as forgotten spells as well, so that adds a thing. Plus, the customizing mage thing is a really neat idea for games. I'm surprised more games with like miniatures and stuff haven't had some way of doing that, like zombie side and stuff like that. Like, hey, here's a way to like customize your character to do different stuff, or just add your things. But I mean, of course, you could probably just look at the rule book and do it. But it's a neat little idea. Plus, the alternate rules even are kind of fun, like being able to draw extra cards or instacast or getting rid of the forgotten spells is a neat concept. The only thing I would say would be fun to do is, and I know games don't do this, but I would love if more games if they made updated expansions for expansions. Because there's some of the other characters that aren't avatars, it would be cool to have as avatars. Like these guys, it'd be neat to have like a 4 horseman avatar thing you could fight. Like maybe I could fight each one, and then every time you defeated one, they swap to a different one. So you're constantly in a rotation of fighting a different avatar boss as they went through. So if you're fighting Bellum, and then you end up defeating him, and he goes to a cell, then you play Moors, right? Or you randomly select one of them, or you play them in order, whichever. Then now you're drawing cards from her deck instead. So now you have a different character to face off against. Then if you end up beating her, then you switch over to Pestilla. Then you switch over to Fames. Then back to Bellum. It would just kind of be an interesting, like, dynamic. And they, instead of having, like, 30-card decks, maybe they each have, like, a 10-card deck. So you have a 40-card deck total. So they're constantly going to be switching in and out. That'd be kind of a neat idea, too. Just as a thought. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Check out part 1 if you didn't for whatever reason. Check out all the other expansions. And see you guys later. Bye.